The moment Loki picked up the Tesseract and vanished from 2012, everyone assumed it was an accident, a mistake, a lucky break created by a clumsy collision between Hulk, Tony Stark, and a briefcase full of impossible plans. But the more I kept revisiting that scene, the more something felt wrong. Not emotionally wrong, mathematically wrong. The sacred timeline was supposed to be the most controlled system in existence. Every movement, every choice, every victory, and every failure had already been accounted for. So how does a timeline built on absolute precision allow a random escape at the single most sensitive point in history? That question kept bothering me. And then I realized we may have been asking the wrong question all along. Maybe Loki did not escape because of an accident. Maybe the accident existed because Loki had to escape. That changes everything. Because once you start looking at the sacred timeline from that angle, another shadow begins to appear behind every major event. A shadow that is never named, never shown, and never caught by the TVA. Dr. Doom. Not as a conqueror arriving at the end of the story, but as the invisible force shaping the conditions that made the story possible in the first place. And if that sounds impossible, stay with me, because every clue begins connecting from here. He Who Remains tells us that he isolated a single timeline to prevent multiversal war. On the surface, that explanation sounds reasonable, but when I really think about it, there is a contradiction hidden inside those words. Isolation is not the same thing as stability. The sacred timeline was never a naturally peaceful reality. It was a compressed reality, a reality forced into a specific shape. Every event had to occur in a precise order. Every decision had to remain within acceptable limits. Every dangerous possibility had to be removed before it could grow. In other words, the sacred timeline was not a thriving ecosystem. It was a pressure chamber, and pressure chambers always create weaknesses. Now think about a mind like Dr. Doom, a man capable of rivaling the greatest scientific intellects while also mastering forces that most geniuses cannot even comprehend. Science and sorcery, logic and destiny. Doom is the exact type of existence that a controlled timeline would fear. Not because he is evil, but because he understands systems. He sees the machinery behind reality. A timeline built on rigid order could never remain comfortable with someone like that. Which means Doom was not simply a threat to the sacred timeline, he was a contradiction embedded within its design. That leads to a question many fans have asked for years. If Dr. Doom is such an important figure in Marvel history, why does he seem completely absent from the multiverse we have been watching? The common answer is that Kang removed him. Kang isolated him. Kang prevented him from becoming a factor. But what if the truth is far more disturbing? What if Doom erased himself? Think about it, any version of Doom that openly existed within the sacred timeline would immediately become visible to the TVA. The moment he started influencing events, alarms would trigger, branches would be investigated, variants would be pruned, every path would eventually lead back to him. A strategist like Doom would never allow that. Instead of hiding within the timeline, he could hide behind absence itself. Not missing, not destroyed, deliberately absent. There is a huge difference. An enemy can be tracked, a ghost cannot. By removing visible traces of his existence, Doom becomes something the TVA is not designed to identify. Their entire system focuses on detecting deviations. But how do you detect someone whose greatest weapon is refusing to appear? Suddenly, his absence stops feeling like a mystery. It starts feeling like camouflage. Now we arrive at the biggest problem. If Doom truly existed beyond the reach of the TVA, how could he possibly challenge a system controlled by Kang? Direct war makes no sense. The TVA monitors reality. Kang understands temporal conflict better than anyone. A straightforward attack would fail before it even began, so Doom would need another approach. He would need the timeline to break itself. And when I searched for the greatest contradiction inside the sacred timeline, I kept coming back to one event, the time heist. Think about how absurd that operation actually is. Avengers from the future travel into the past. Multiple Infinity Stones exist simultaneously. Different versions of characters occupy the same historical moment. The entire mission succeeds because reality tolerates a level of temporal strain that should not even be possible. If the sacred timeline is a perfect machine, then the time heist is the point where that machine bends furthest from its intended shape. It is the weakest section of the wall, the place where pressure becomes visible. Doom does not need to smash the structure. He only needs to find the fracture that already exists. And the time heist may have been exactly that fracture. Most theories focus on the Avengers because they are the obvious participants in the event. But I think that focus misses the real target. The Avengers are heroes, predictable heroes. They make emotional decisions. They react to crises. They try to save people. Even when they alter history, they do so within understandable limits. Loki is different. Loki is a narrative anomaly. He survives stories that should destroy him. He changes sides. He reinvents himself. He refuses to remain in the role assigned to him. If Doom were searching for a single individual capable of transforming a damaged timeline into something entirely new, Loki would be the perfect candidate. Not because he is stronger than the Avengers, but because he thinks differently. Doom would know that heroes repair systems, tricksters rewrite them. That distinction matters. The Avengers could accidentally crack the sacred timeline, but only Loki could evolve beyond it. Only Loki could move from being a participant in history to becoming a force that shapes history itself. Suddenly, the escape scene stops looking like a side effect. It starts looking like the first move in a much larger game whose true objective would not be revealed until years later. Then we reach the collision itself. Hulk slams through the area. Tony loses control. The Tesseract slides across the floor. Loki picks it up. We are told it is accidental. Yet the sacred timeline supposedly allows only the outcome that leads to Kang's preferred future. So how does an accident survive inside a reality built on precision? Here is where the theory becomes fascinating. What if Doom never manipulated events directly? What if he manipulated probability? There is an important difference. Time travel changes actions. Probability changes likelihoods. Imagine adjusting millions of microscopic variables until a specific outcome becomes inevitable. Hulk's emotional state, Tony's position, the angle of impact, the exact rotation of the Tesseract. None of those details require visible intervention. They only require statistical influence. Doom would not be moving chess pieces. He would be shaping the board. And because the board appears natural, nobody notices the hand behind it. That idea fits Doom perfectly. He is not merely a conqueror. He is an architect. An architect does not push every brick into place personally. He creates conditions that guide construction toward a desired result. By the time the building stands complete, everyone assumes it assembled itself. What makes the plan even more brilliant is the TVA's biggest blind spot. The TVA detects branches. It detects unauthorized outcomes, but it does not truly measure intent. When Loki escapes, the event appears chaotic, selfish, improvised, a desperate grab for freedom. Nothing about it suggests the involvement of a hidden mastermind operating beyond the visible timeline. So the TVA classifies Loki as a variant, a mistake, a problem requiring correction. And that classification becomes the camouflage, because once the TVA labels an event, it stops asking deeper questions. The organization sees a symptom and assumes it understands the disease. Meanwhile, the real cause remains untouched. I keep coming back to that idea because it feels exactly like something Doom would exploit. He understands institutions. He understands arrogance. He understands that systems become vulnerable when they trust their own assumptions. The TVA believed it was observing every meaningful threat, yet the possibility of a deliberately absent strategist may never have entered its calculations. That is why Doom does not need invisibility powers. He only needs everyone else to believe they already know what happened. Now look at Loki's journey through his own series. At first, he seems like a prisoner dragged through someone else's story. Then he becomes an observer. Later, he becomes a student of time itself. Eventually, he transforms into something entirely different. Not a king, not a conqueror, not even a traditional god. He becomes the support structure holding countless realities together, and this is where the theory takes a dramatic turn. Most people view Loki's final position as the ultimate victory against chaos. I am not convinced. Notice what Loki actually does. He does not rule the multiverse. He does not dictate choices. He does not enforce a singular destiny. He simply keeps possibilities alive. Endless realities continue existing because Loki sustains them. Now ask yourself, who benefits most from that arrangement? Kang certainly does not. His entire philosophy revolves around control and limitation. Dr. Doom, however, thrives in a landscape of expanding possibilities. Infinite realities create infinite opportunities. No single authority governs existence. No universal prison restricts growth. Whether Loki realizes it or not, his sacrifice constructs the exact environment that Doom would need in order to operate on a multiversal scale. This is why I think Doom functions as the antivirus to Kang's system. Kang seeks order. Doom seeks potential. Kang freezes reality into manageable patterns. Doom turns reality into a resource. Neither philosophy is purely heroic or purely villainous. They are competing visions of existence. One believes peace emerges from control. The other believes progress emerges from conflict. When viewed through that lens, their rivalry becomes inevitable. He who remains could isolate timelines, he could prune branches, he could suppress dangerous futures, but a figure like Doom represents something harder to eliminate, an idea. The belief that destiny should never belong to a single ruler. Ironically, the more aggressively Kang enforced order, the more valuable Doom's alternative became. That may explain why Kang understood Doom conceptually, yet could never truly locate him. You can map locations, you can track individuals, you cannot easily erase a principle. Doom survives because he embodies the exact possibility that the sacred timeline was designed to prevent, and every act of suppression only increases the pressure behind that possibility until eventually the walls begin cracking. Now imagine the opening of Avengers, Doomsday. We return to 2012. The battle is over. The familiar sequence unfolds exactly as we remember it. The Avengers move through the aftermath. The Tesseract changes hands. Loki waits. At first, nothing seems different. Then the camera lingers slightly longer than before. A flicker appears in the background. Not a portal. Not an explosion. Something subtler. A temporal distortion hidden at the edge of perception. Maybe a green rune-like fracture. maybe a momentary ripple that should not exist. Most viewers would dismiss it, yet the scene continues. Hulk collides with Tony, the case breaks open, the Tesseract slides forward, Loki escapes. Then everything cuts to silence. And for the first time we hear Doom speak, calm, certain, almost reflective. He looks upon the event not as a surprise, but as a completed calculation. Then comes the line that suddenly reframes an entire saga. Time learned to lie in that moment, not because Loki ran, not because the Avengers failed, but because reality itself crossed a threshold from which deception became possible. That single statement would transform a familiar scene into the foundation of an entirely new interpretation. When all the clues are placed together, a remarkable picture begins to emerge. The sacred timeline was never truly stable. It merely appeared stable because its contradictions remained hidden. Doom recognized those contradictions long before anyone else. Rather than attacking the system directly, he allowed its weaknesses to mature. Rather than controlling individuals, he influenced probabilities. Rather than revealing himself, he weaponized absence. Every step reflects patience. Every step reflects long-term planning. Most importantly, every step avoids the mistakes that doomed countless villains before him. Ego never becomes the objective. Visibility never becomes the objective. The objective is transformation. Create conditions, encourage inevitabilities, let history move itself. By the time anyone notices the result, the process is already complete. That is why this theory fascinates me so much. It turns Doom from a late arrival into a hidden architect whose fingerprints exist across events we thought we understood. Suddenly, the Multiverse Saga gains a deeper layer. Not a battle between heroes and villains, but a struggle between competing designs for reality itself. One more detail keeps echoing in my head whenever I revisit this theory. If Doom truly understood fate, then he would never need perfect certainty. He would only need a future where enough variables converge toward the same destination. That makes the multiverse feel less like a battlefield and more like a river. Every branch appears free, yet invisible. Currents keep pulling events together. Loki becomes the spark. Kang becomes the obstacle. The TVA becomes the filter. And Doom becomes the patient observer waiting beyond the map. Watching it this way makes every rewatch richer. Because small moments stop feeling random. They become clues hidden in plain sight, waiting for the larger picture to finally emerge fully. And that brings us back to the question that started everything. Why did Loki escape in 2012? The official answer is simple. Circumstances aligned. Heroes made mistakes. Chaos took advantage of opportunity. But simplicity is not always truth. The deeper answer may be that the escape was inevitable long before it happened. Not because Doom physically pushed Loki toward the Tesseract. Not because Doom traveled back and altered history. Because he guided reality into a position where only one meaningful outcome remained. Loki had to run, the TVA had to react, the multiverse had to expand, Kang's grip had to weaken, and the future had to become open enough for Doom's era to begin. That is the terrifying brilliance of the theory. Doom never wins by moving the piece. He wins by creating the need for the move. The branch was not his creation. The necessity of the branch was. The seed of Avengers. Doomsday may have been planted the instant Loki disappeared. In that second, history believed it was witnessing an accident. In reality, it may have been witnessing a victory. Where Loki escaped, Doom already won. Thanks for staying with me. Like, share, subscribe, and send your questions and theories in the comments section. I'm Liam Harrison from MovieCast, and thank you for watching until the end.